Hi, this is Voss here from the Chris Voss Show.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are things that makes official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you and educates you on all the greatest, smartest things, the wonderful minds that come on the show. We just have, 2,500 guests of the most smartest, brilliant people that share with you their stories, their journeys, their lessons of life, their overcoming cathartic moments, and how they survived. Because that's kind of what it's kind of what living is. It's the grand survivor TV show that we're all living in the universe, and the universe isn't friendly or kind in any way. We deserve nothing. You get nothing. You have to make your world. So there you go. Anyway, guys, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Help them survive as well. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his latest book that just came out June 3rd, 2023. It is called Congrats, let me recut that. Congrats, you've been promoted, an essential guide for helping new leaders and their teams succeed. Noel Massie joins us on the show. We're going to get into it with him and all the good stuff that he's learned over a lifetime. He's imparted to you in this book that you're going to want to pick up, or else, damn it, don't make me come back there and pull the car over, folks. Anyway, guys, Noel Massie served as a vice president of USPS's U.S. operations from 2016 to 2019. In this role, he supported and guided the package delivery and logistics services in the United States. Prior to service as VP, he held several positions within the organization, including president of 3 separate business units, operations division manager, corporate schools coordinator, and he's currently a member of 3 boards right now, and he's previously served on multiple boards, et cetera, et cetera. He's been featured in publications such as LA Times, the Orange County Register, Door to Door, and Harvard Business Review, one of my favorite things to read since being a kid. He has been a keynote speaker in a wide range of notable conferences and events, and we'll get into some of the deets with Massie. Massie, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be on your podcast. You have a great show, great
Thank
listeners, and I'm really pleased to be here with you this morning.
Yeah, this is our second podcast that we've episode we've done. No, we've done this a couple times before over the years. A couple thousand times before over the years. So thank you. It's an honor to have you as well, sir. So give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, they can find me the fastest just by going to my website, which is Noel, Noel Massie, Massie, one word, .com. And that'll take you to my website, where there's links there for my Instagram and LinkedIn page, and there's a contact form with my assistant's name on it, and they can reach me there the most efficiently.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's in your new book?
So I worked for UPS, so your listeners are clear, the Brown Delivery Company that we all know and love, that you've been watching for years and years. I spent 42 years in the organization, rising to the level of president, starting off as a college student, night loading, and eventually I became a supervisor in the early 80s, 1980 to be exact. And wow. I rose through the organization to manager, division level manager, operations manager, and ultimately it led me to being a president in 5 different business units: Philadelphia, Virginia, Chicago. And in Philadelphia, I was a COO, but in Chicago, I was the president. Virginia, the president. Southern California, likewise. And then ultimately, I became vice president of U.S. delivery operations, where we have a couple 100,000 employees daily, led by 17 business units. And in my role to the CEO and COO was to drive that organization to success daily. And that's all about development. It's all about development. And so one of the main things, real quick, that was plaguing us pretty dramatically at the tail of my career, which is 2019 when I retired. And then I went off, and now I do a lot of things with small businesses. But development of the frontline individual, the leader at the front line, was our biggest challenge. And so I wrote this book to help answer that.
Huh. There you go. Team building and leadership. I mean, that's something we talk a lot about on the show, helping teams succeed and proper leadership. A lot of people, they leave workplaces. I think the number one reason why people leave workplaces is poor leadership or poor culture. Is that
No
true, you
doubt.
think? Yeah.
No, people quit people. They don't quit companies, Chris.
I love that. People quit people. I need to
People
have
quit
that on my
people.
coffee
People
cup.
don't leave places where they're being appreciated and their work is valued and they're valued as individuals. People don't leave those workplaces unless there's, it happens obviously, but unless there's something really good being offered to them, people quit people. They don't quit companies. That's a reality.
There you go. They don't quit companies. The people quit people. I love that because that's very true. I mean, I've seen toxic cultures. I've seen toxic leaders. I've seen all sorts of stuff. But yeah, yeah. So what was the proponent that motivated you on to write the book? It seems obvious, but was there sometimes there's like a moment that people have where they have an aha moment where they go, you know what? I'm writing a book about this crap. So
I actually conceptualized this book. The idea for me came about 10 years, maybe a little more than that ago, when I was thinking through the next chapter for me, in my life and what I could do to be a contributor to others. I believe very wholeheartedly that your value is about what you do for others, not what you can get from others. You can't. One thing I say to young people all the time, and I said it to my two sons, which are 32 and 30 today, and they would say this to you, and they're both doing very well in their lives. I'm really lucky to have them as sons, candidly. But that being said, I would say to them as they were growing up, you can't hope to get more than you give. Now, that's a simple phrase, but here's what that simple thing means, is that if you want to be good at anything in your life, it could be fishing. Okay, then you need to give something to that. You need to practice it, work it. You need to be mentored by people that are good at it. But you can't hope to be able to get a lot of fish if you don't give a lot of effort. Okay, if you want a lot of savings, you can't hope to have a lot of savings if you don't give a lot to doing savings. No matter what it is, whatever it is you want to be, if you really are passionate about being it, then you have to invest in that thing. And so that being said, my motivation for this book is really about when I started my career, and nothing's really changed. You're in your 20s and early 30s, whatever it is. And one day you were driving a forklift or delivering a vehicle. And the next day, because you worked hard and did a great job, someone goes, we're going to make you the leader of the team. And so you get promoted. And you know what you don't know? You don't know how to lead. You know how to drive a forklift or deliver a vehicle, but you don't really understand leadership. And leadership is not rocket science, Chris, but it's a science.
Definitely is.
And a real key to it is understanding that in a leadership role, there are terms and conditions, values, as I call it, and that's the foundation of the book. I talk about the terms and conditions of leadership that people have. And if I were to ask any of your listeners, write down 5 things for me that are non-negotiable in a relationship you're going to have with someone in your life, whether it's a friend, a spouse, your job. There are things you expect that to give you. It's respect, dignity, listening to me, not playing favorites. All these kinds of things are dynamics that show up in the workplace. But when when you're young, you're not even thinking about that. You got promoted, right? It's great. Everyone's high-fiving you, slapping you on the back, great deal, blah, blah, blah. And then you're 27. And here's what happens for real. You're 27. Now you're leading the team, and one of the team members is 57. And they got 30 years in the company. And they walk up to you and you say, hey, Larry, I would like you to whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Larry goes, I'm not doing that. No. And in that moment, that is a tipping point. That no from Larry is being witnessed by the other 9 team members, and you don't know what to do. Well, and my book was about teaching that person how to navigate that moment. What do I do? And so it's not just suggesting what they do. I have a structured skill development piece of the book. Part 1 is talks about the terms and conditions of leadership, like displaying integrity at all times and being intentional, ethics and the importance of them, not showing favorites ever, right? Fairness is about many things, but it's about the thing, the person that works for you, how they see it. And then part 2 of the book is really about here's a skill development tactic, if you will. Here is a approach you can use so that when Larry says no, you don't get blindsided. You know what to do. You catch it like someone was hitting you a ball and you were playing shortstop. You know how to catch it. And so that's really what the book is about, because derailment happens for new leaders generally in that first year to 2. They get promoted and go, no, this is not for me. I want to go back to driving a forklift. It's not for me. I want to go back to stocking shelves, because they're just getting bludgeoned and they don't know what to do. So that was my, reason for writing this book, to keep it simple. When it's all said and done, because as a young leader myself, I went through those things, right? And I had great mentors. I had individuals. My first manager was amazing. His name was Glenn Lebrecht, and he was really, really into developing his young people. Glenn was like in his mid-30s. We were like in our 20s. And he spent a lot of time with us, but the one thing he would not allow us to do is not practice the skills necessary to lead effectively. We had to practice in front of him. We had to role play. Like then we pick you and say, okay, Chris, you're going to be the disgruntled over-the-road tractor-trailer driver. Okay, Noel, you're going to be his supervisor, and he's about to refuse to do something. In a group of 20 or something other supervisors be watching you and Chris, and I would use a tactic that was taught, not manipulative, but it was intended to keep the person's self-esteem high, make sure they felt important, while influencing their behavior in a positive way, because that's what leadership is. Leadership is the ability to influence the behavior of a team or an individual and to influence them to positive outcomes. So that was why I wrote the book, because I lived it candidly with Teamsters at UPS, which is the largest employer of Teamsters in the world.
Wow.
And so when you're dealing with union employees, you don't just tell them to take a hike. Okay, it doesn't work like that. Okay? You have to influence them in a positive way to follow you. That's how it works. That's how it works.
There you go. Well, I mean, that would make pretty good sense for everything, because the one thing about the UPS, isn't UPS largely employee owned? Is that still
That's
correct?
how we started in 1907. The founder of the organization really believed in having employees have a piece of the action, and that would create an environment or a culture that would engage everyone to want to win. And he was right about that. And so the organization was private for 90 of its first 90 years, which when I was made a leader in the organization, I became a partner, right? I mean, I got stock and shares for the compensation. The organization went public in 99 for a myriad of reasons, to raise capital, really to go international. But even with that, if you are a leader in the organization with a share of stock, your stock share is 10 times stronger than a public share. So you have a 10-to-1 vote advantage. The organization really kept control of its decision-making to the owners, right? The owners have a 10-to-1 vote advantage to a publicly traded share. So what that does is it keeps the public out of the organization's business, candidly. People buy the stock because it pays a 6% dividend, 5.7 or something. And so a lot of institutions own it, but they don't get to tell the organization what to do. The organization is run as a partner-driven organization, and about 70% of delivery drivers also own stock in the company. So you have a culture where it really is a team. It's really a team.
Yeah.
It was the vision of the owner or the founder, James E. Casey, in 1907, when he was 19, founded the company. Irish Catholic American. And I think for your listeners, if you were Irish in 1907, you weren't at the top of the hierarchy. Okay, the Irish were treated pretty badly during the turn. So Jim Casey when he built the organization, never forgot how he experienced that as a kid. So his number one thing was setting values and tone through writings and legacies and discussions, which are legendary, candidly, that we would value our people, and there's some non-negotiables. Integrity would reign as our number one value. Ethics would reign as our as a value. That we would pay our people well, and we would treat them fairly. And that's the culture I grew up in, and it works. And that's why that organization is 118 years old, and we just and they just I'm not there now, but they just keep on trucking, you know.
Yeah, keep on trucking. I like the analogy there. Tell us about your life. How did you grow up? How did you get affiliated with UPS? What was kind of your journey through life before you got there, and kind of give us a surmise in your words of, you know, your experience.
I was really the classic employee that UPS built its foundation on, meaning that I was 19 at the time when I got hired, and I was a college student at San Jose State University. But the difference for me is I had just finished an internship for 1 year at IBM as a lab tech. I was an electrical engineering student. So, but in any event, I needed a part-time job to pay my tuition at college, and UPS was hiring, so they hired me. And I started off loading trucks at night. It worked for me, 11 to 3 in the morning, and I could go to class during the day, blah, blah, blah. But after a few months, I was approached by the manager to become a part-time supervisor or a leader in the organization, supervising people that were doing night loading, that kind of stuff. And I got promoted after a few months, and I was a part-time supervisor for 3 years or so till 1980. And I was going to take a job at Hewlett Packard. And I told my manager that I was going to be leaving and taking this job at Hewlett Packard. And he was like, hey, wait, whoa. He goes, we had something in mind for you. We were going to promote you into a fully partnership leadership job. And so I was never expecting that, but I loved what I was doing. I really did. And I stayed. And the reason I stayed at UPS versus becoming an electrical engineer was I loved what I was doing, period. Yeah. And I think that is a really important point, you know, I'd say to your listeners, is that love what you do every day. Because I had 42 years where every day I got up and I loved what I was doing. I'm a social person. I wanted to be leading other people. And I understood the responsibility of that. Now, why? Because my grandfather, who was born in 1900, was a barber. And as a kid, I swept hair in his barber shop when I was like 7, you know? And I talk about that in the book quite a bit because he was a very stoic man. He was one of high character. He had a barber shop in Oakland, California, where I'm from originally. And you know, he was a business owner in the early 60s. And he had 3 other barbers in his shop. And he ran one chair and the other 3. But the one thing about my grandfather is that he was a person of very few words, and he was high. I never saw him get upset one time in my life. Wow. But I saw him make points many times in my life. And he was able to do it because he had integrity and he was ethical. And he understood that would win the day always. And it did. And I saw people come to barbershop of all shapes and sizes, right? You know how barbershops are. And our barbershop was a vibrant, really vibrant, lively kind of place. You know, people would be talking sports and blah, blah, blah. But if anyone made an uncomfortable moment in the shop, all my grandfather had to do was look at that customer. All he had to do, Chris, was look at that customer, tilt his head to the side, and he had a sign. He had a sign. Okay, this is a place where people come to enjoy themselves. And he had another sign: my shop, my rules.
Good for him.
But you know, he told me early as a kid, I'm like 8 years old, right? And my grandfather says, listen, son, your life will largely depend on how hard you work and who you hang out with. So work hard, choose wisely.
Yeah.
And he said, people aren't different. He says, never buy into this narrative that people are that different, because they're not. He says, whether they're in, you know, the Europe, or whether they're in another country, or whether they live in another state, all people basically want the same things. They want safety in their lives, the ability to make a living, to be respected and treated well. He says those are the basic things people want to be able to do. They want to be able to raise their families, have a roof over their head, respect in their lives, and live in a good community. That's what people want. He says, so never let people sell you that because people are of different races, ethnicities, nationalities, because he also worked on the railroad. And so before he had his barbershop, he took tickets on the railroad across the U.S. as a porter, back in the day where they would come punch your ticket, blah, blah, blah. And so he learned a lot of lessons. Think about this. He was born in 1900. Yeah. Right? Now I'm like, this is the 60s. So when he's talking to me like this, it's like he's like 60 something. And so he lived through the Roaring 20s. He lived through World War I. He lived through World War II. He lived through the Great Depression. He lived through all these things. And he was just a very wise person. So I was privileged to have him early in my life. So by the time I was an adult and I got to UPS and the founder of the organization had these values, that made sense to me. And it was a place that I felt I belonged, and the rest is history.
There you go. Well, there you go. The rest is history, as they always say. So you got to love it. So tell us about your website. What are some of the offerings we have here as we round out the show? What are some of the things that you do here? I see some expertise, blog, podcast. Tell us about some of the offerings you have here on the show people can partake of.
Well, on the website, it's pretty comprehensive around a couple of things. Number one, if you want to buy a book, you can do that on Barnes & Noble, which Simon & Schuster is my publisher, incidentally. And you can get it on Amazon, obviously, because you get anything on Amazon, right? So that being said, I built a masterclass. It's 9 episodes, and it aligns with the book, right? So a lot of people want to listen, as opposed to read. It comes in as an ebook as well. But when you go through the chapter on ethics, there's a masterclass series. It's like 10 minutes, 12 minutes long that matches, aligns with that chapter. So that's on my website to be purchased. That's $99.95 if someone wants to buy the masterclass. It's also a really effective tool to run workshops, right? If you have a team and you want to discuss the importance of integrity, fairness, ethics, you want to learn what I call the 4x5 method, which is how you deal with conflict or how you handle conflict, not deal with it, how you approach conflict, or you want to learn the 7 steps of effective training. Those sessions are in the masterclass. And then if a person is interested in more than one book, they can buy multiple books. Obviously, the more effective way to do that is through my website. If you're going to buy like 50 books or something, my assistant, Kayla Bozeman, and that's KAYLAHBOZMAN at gmail.com, or at noelmassie.com. She can facilitate a large order, and we give discounts for bulk, obviously.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. So you've got those on the websites. What does your prospective client look like? If people are out there listening on LinkedIn or other places that hear this over the next couple decades, what are some of your prospective clients that that are right fit for you think?
Well, obviously I spent in a Fortune 500 company 42 years, and where that took me as a president, we had over 1.3 million clients. And where it took me on a weekly basis was in front of those small business owners, right? They had 50 people or 20 people. But I don't care if you have a donut shop. If you have a manager running that donut shop, they need to be developed. And you as the owner own doing that. I work with small business owners a lot, candidly. When you ask who do I talk to, I have a number of small businesses with a couple hundred people. One of them has like 4,000 people. But the small business owner generally doesn't dedicate resources to developing the flesh and bone of the organization, which is the leadership at the front line. That is where culture happens. Okay, first of all, here's what happens in any business, whether it's UPS with 450,000 people or a company with 15 people. Culture is built at the top. It's executed at the bottom. Period.
That's
Okay.
that's another shirt coffee cup line right there.
Culture is built at the top, but it's executed at the bottom. And all you have to do is look at some of the large organizations with CEOs that failed miserably. Like the CEO of Uber was ousted, right? Now they have a new guy, and he's doing really well. Well, why? Because the culture, the board felt that he was driving was not the one they wanted in the organization. And this guy founded the company. And that's happened to the founder of Papa John's. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
He founded the company. He's no longer the CEO. Why? Because he didn't fit where they wanted the culture to go. Culture is built at the top, but it's executed at the bottom. And so developing the front line, which is the people who give your direction to others, is the responsibility of leaders. So developing them brings value. And when you wake up in the morning and you think as an owner, okay, who am I going to develop today versus how much money did I make yesterday? You're just going to do better. My manager, what do I want my manager to get better at? And you ask that manager, write down the 5 things you think you're great at. Now tell me why you're great at them. Okay. And you write down the 5 things you think the manager should get better at. And then you compare those 2 lists. All right. You'll come out with something: better listener, more patience, more organization, whatever it is. You should coach them. What do coaches, and this is one thing I say to small business owners, which I've worked with many that I would meet with like 5 or 6 a week in my professional life, like 150 a year. And the conversation would always go to development and leadership. And they'd say, "Noel, what do you think? Blah, 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 whatever." And I'd say, well, here's what I would say to you, John, who own company X. I'd say, when you watch an NBA team, does the head coach stop in the middle of the game and go get a sandwich? No. Does the NFL head coach, when the game is going, does he take some time off and stop watching what's going on? No. On the field? No. I said, they spend an amazing amount of time during the week even practicing and preparing. Yet when the game's on, it's game on. That's the requirement of a leader. The leader is expected to be there for their team in critical moments, coaching them, because that's what leadership is. It's the ability to influence the behavior of a team or an individual. And to do that, you must coach them. Yeah. And that's really what I spend time with on business owners, not their spreadsheets and profit and loss and their marketing plan. And I go, here's how this works. Okay. When you have great people under you, they do great things. You need to spend your minutes making them great.
Making them great, as it were. There you
go. Valuing them. That's right.
Valuing them as well.
Yes.
So this has been very insightful. Noel, as we go out, give people your final pitch out to order up the book and access your services on your website and your .coms.
Again, they can reach me by going to Noel, Noel Massie, MASSIE.com. And that'll take them to my website where they can see content, purchase a book, contact me, set up a meeting if they'd like to have one that's deeper and they want some team development. We can certainly facilitate that. My assistant, again, is KAYLAH BOZMAN Bozeman, Kayla Bozeman. She's great. She follows up immediately with people. She's detailed all the things I talk about. And your folks want to have a deeper discussion on some of the topics they heard today, then I am happy to spend some time doing that with them.
There you go. Thank you very much, Noel, for coming on the show and sharing your insights. Man, you had quite the journey. And, few people in today's world have the opportunity to stick to one company and work their way up through the thing. And so having those beautiful success stories are amazing. And, sticking to one thing the whole time and making it work and building success with it. And you definitely become a master of the trade. So thank you very much for coming on the show, Noel.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. You have a great show, and it's well known and renowned, if you will. And I was really privileged to be a guest on it today.
We're privileged to have you come on and share your life story with us because you've lived a life. I mean, it's a journey. It's wonderful stories that you can tell. And, of course, the lessons that you have in your book. So thank you very much, Noel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss and all those crazy places on the internet. Order up Noel's book wherever fine books are sold. It is called Congrats, You've been promoted, an essential guide for helping new leaders and their teams succeed, out June 3rd, 2025. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.